Pelvis smash breathing drill. The reason we're doing this breathing drill is to allow for a bit more relative motion at the pelvis, mainly the ilium. So these nominate bones right here. We are going to be laying over a yoga block or a foam roller, and what is going to happen is that pressure is going to allow for a bit more internal rotation of that side of the hip. This can be really, really good if we've got posterior pelvic floor tightness. It can also help us to relieve a bit of deep hip external rotator tightness. You're going to want to have 2 yoga blocks or a foam roller and a pillow, basically something for one side of your pelvis and something for your head. So go grab those, meet me back here, and we will do the pelvic smash breathing drill. I'm going to be doing this breathing drill on my right side, but you are certainly welcome to do it on your left side. You can also do it on both sides if it feels really good to you. A lot of times we do need it more on the left side, but I happen to know that my right hip feels really sticky today, so I'm going to be doing it on my right hip so I can get a little bit more freedom of motion in that joint. So I'm going to lay my yoga blocks down like so. This one is going to be for my head, this one is going to be for my hip. Now, when we are putting the yoga block or the foam roller or big towel, whatever you're using on the hip, we want to be careful about where we place it. So where you don't want to put it is over your hip bone, your ISIS right here, so that more bony part in the front. You don't want to put it right over this, okay? Where we want to feel it is kind of over that greater trochanter area, which is, just think of this like meatier part of your hip right here, okay? So that's where we're kind of wanting to put it, is right there. So line up your pelvis. So you're going to get the very top of your yoga block or your foam roller, whatever it is that you're using, right over that more meatier part of your pelvis. Now from here, you're just going to let your head lay down like so. Now, what we want to think about here is that we are going to let our top hip be very long, okay? I don't want you like falling into the yoga block here. I want you to let that top hip be long, and you're going to let your other leg just gently kind of come forward. If you feel like you need to put something under here for support, that's totally fine. If you don't like the feeling of it just kind of out in space, or it feels like a little bit too much, totally fine to put something underneath that knee. Now, from here, we've got that right hip, or my left hip, excuse me, is on top. The left hip is staying long, and I'm just letting that left hip like very gently rotate over the right. Now from here, we have that top hip long. We have our knee just ever so slightly coming towards the ground. And what we can do is just kind of use our hand to elongate here, okay? So I want you to make sure that hand, your elbow isn't pulling up. Think about your hand kind of pulling your hip down here, and what you can do is just kind of gently roll back and forth. So easy does it here. You don't need to move into anything that feels painful. If you feel your body starting to pull away from this, then either get something softer or use a little bit less range of motion. So we're just going to stay here, and we're going to inhale and exhale, making sure to kind of pull that top hip down. You're going to inhale, exhale, and then you're just kind of gently rocking back and forth here. And we're allowing for that overpressure to create a little bit more space in the bottom pelvis. That's the one that we're working on, not the top pelvis, the bottom pelvis. So you just inhale, exhale, gentle movements here. And you may find as you continue to kind of rock back and forth very gently that you find you have a little more space to go into with that top hip, that the top hip can get a little bit longer as you're rocking back and forth. As you're going through this breathing drill, on your inhales, we want to be able to ideally feel the pelvic floor just kind of letting go, accepting pressure that is coming down from the rib cage. On the exhale, it should feel like the pelvic floor just floats back up. We don't need to really worry about actively contracting the pelvic floor on an exhale. This can also be really helpful if you know that you have pelvic floor tightness on one side or the other. This would typically be diagnosed diagnosed by a pelvic floor physio, it might be kind of hard to self-diagnose this, but it can be super, super helpful for giving that side just a little bit of release, because as we can get the innominate to come into a little bit more of an internally rotated position, we are going to let the pelvic floor release a little bit on that side. All right, that is your pelvic smash breathing drill. Hopefully that's helpful, and I will see you on the next video.